bullied and dunked on. We gon' leave you beat up, bullied and dunked on. We said we only rock with Mavericks. If you're a clone, then step off the canvas.
Hello and welcome to episode 4, season 18 of The Box Score. It's been an electric few weeks in sports. We've got an electric show to reflect that, filled with Heisman predictions and a look at the state of the NFL. But we're going to start with Major League Baseball first, as the race for the MLB's biggest free agent heats up. Who will land Juan Soto? Here to break down the teams who could snatch one of the best players in the league is Briggs Loveland and Max Lasky. Briggs, let's start with you.
Well, I got 2 words for you both.
Okay.
Steve Cohen, owner of the New York Mets.
Oh, God.
I believe that Juan Soto should go to the New York Mets because that's where he's going to get the most money. Steve Cohen is not going to outbid any other owner, any other team. He's going to get the most money going to New York. And quite frankly, when you look at most athletes and quite frankly MLB players, they want the money. They're going to say, no, I don't really want the money. I want to get what's best for me and the team. No, they want the money. And I think Juan Soto is going to do that going to the New York Mets. The Mets have a great team. They made it to the NLCS after starting 0-5, I believe. I mean, it looked like, oh no, and it went to OMG. So the New York Mets have a great team. They have great young players like Mark Vientos, Francisco Alvarez, and they have a great leader, a fantastic leader in Francisco Lindor. And I think Juan Soto is really going to be the top dog with the New York Mets, kind of not overstepping Francisco Lindor from a leadership perspective, but just being the number 1 player on the field. I think that's going to be Juan Soto for the New York Mets. I think he should go to New York.
Okay, so you are more on the Mets train, but
I am.
You're taking the other New York squad.
I am. We're hopping over to the Bronx.
The better borough, someone argue.
Better borough. It sounds like, though, Briggs, what you're saying is that Juan Soto can be bought, similar to Mike Tyson this past weekend, right?
The jabs are already starting.
I don't think so, because if I'm Juan Soto, sure, I want the money, and any team that we're going to talk about tonight is going to open the banks for him. But if I'm Juan Soto, I want to join a young and hungry team that is ready to win championships. You take a look at this Yankee squad. Juan Soto, 26 years old. Volpe, 22. Dominguez, who's likely going to join the starting lineup, 21. You got Verdugo, who we might get back, 28 years old, and Jazz, who's tied to the team for the next couple years, also 26. This is a young
squad.
Team. Judge is in his prime. If I'm Juan Soto, I want to go to a
unless it's in the playoffs.
Unless it's in the playoffs.
And the thing with New York is that it's such a great media and it's such a big market that if he goes either the Yankees or the Mets, he's still going to build his brand and still have a big enough market to where he's going to be recognizable, whether it's in pinstripes or whether it's in the blue and white.
But listen, speaking of big markets, you've got another team from a different big market across the coast.
Speaking of championships as well, this team just won the World Series. Don't count out the Los Angeles Dodgers now. Don't count them out.
It's not fair.
And I say that because it isn't. It really is not fair.
Give me a salary cap now.
We kind of need it because I really think the Dodgers should not be counted out when it comes to signing Juan Soto. I think they have a legit shot more than the Mets, more than the Yankees, more than really any other team in baseball. Well, they can sign him. They have the money. They're able to go spend freely as much as they want to. They spend a ton on Shohei Ohtani, Yamamoto, Mookie Betts as well. And in relation to Mookie Betts, he's moving to infield. Teoscar Hernandez is out. That left field spot's wide open. That's where he played when he won a World Series with the Nationals. The Dodgers are looking to keep building on from what they've done in the 2024 season, and that's win championships. They're all business.
Spend that money that they would have spent on
Ohtani. Exactly, and they're all business.
Later, yeah.
They just beat the team that Juan Soto was just on.
Yeah.
Okay, but you have one more team to counter that.
I do. And, staying on the topic of championships, we're going to go over to Titletown, if you will, the city of champions, which is Boston. It's crazy to hear me say that.
They had a great pitch. They did have a great pitch.
They had a great meeting.
It's going to give me
shivers.
Scares
me a little bit. I'm shaking right now.
It scares me completely, but, I have to think logically.
I feel bad energy at this table.
Yeah, a little bit, but we can move past it.
I have to think logically, and, the Boston Red Sox are also a very young team, and you talk about wanting to win championships, and I think that Juan Soto could easily go and sell his soul to the Los Angeles Dodgers and win championships for years to come. But I also think that the Red Sox are just a couple years away from winning championships again.
And they had a
Another
bad
young
trade deadline
team.
this year. They were a fringe wild card team for a while this year.
Yeah.
And the trade deadlines, the moves they made, it just didn't pan out for them. So the Red Sox really, to your point, Max, it is a good fit for Juan Soto, as much as I hate to say it.
Yeah,
It's a good
it could be.
I don't want to hear it. It's too much. It's like
we need to stop
I'm
ourselves.
getting like
We need to
acid
stop
reflux.
ourselves.
It's, I mean, oh my God.
We don't need to see that. We don't.
No. It's an ugly sight. I want to see him in pinstripes.
It's only
for
the first
next
segment, Noah. You gonna be all right?
Listen, I need 15 years of Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
Lock him up for life.
Well,
I agree.
Yeah.
25.
Need him for
Whatever.
life.
Always great. Thank you so much. Now, from the diamond to the gridiron, Caleb Williams and the Bears are in a weird situation, to say the least. The number one pick is obviously good, but the Bears have done him no favors with a shaky O-line and underwhelming receiver play. With me to discuss what's going on with the Bears, Williams, and how to fix it is Max Lasky and Everest Leach. Now, Max, you're going to get us started for this segment as our resident Bears fan. What's going on?
So much, right?
Right.
We were just talking, actually, before the show. Had a little debate with Kyler, another analyst on the show.
Okay.
And he said that DJ Moore is a bad receiver. Now, he said this because Caleb Williams can't throw him the ball, and that starts with the offensive line.
Right.
I think it's clear the talent around the Chicago Bears, around Caleb Williams offensively is fantastic. I mean, it's what we thought it would be should he have the help at the O-line,
Right.
which he doesn't. I also think that they need to fire Matt Eberflus. We've been saying this for a few seasons now. And I think that Thomas Brown, the new interim offensive coordinator, showed more grit and enthusiasm than I've ever seen Matt Eberflus show.
I agree.
You know, and he was showing that up in the press box, calling plays from the press box. I think a guy like Caleb Williams needs to be coached less, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I think he needs a coach that can just
Let him go free
cook.
flowing, like a
Let him go
Patrick
crazy.
Mahomes.
Like a
kinda.
Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Let him
Make the
cook.
plays.
And I think that that's what they need to do. On the other hand, Bears finally scored a touchdown, so can't complain.
And you got to celebrate that. But what do you think? What's going on with the Bears? What's wrong? Where do we need to fix?
I think I'm going to build off of what Max said because I think he said a lot of smart stuff. But to be honest, I think a lot of the quote-unquote disappointment surrounding Caleb Williams stems from the media misunderstanding what a rookie quarterback should be.
I agree. Yeah.
Caleb Williams has shown great flashes. You can never expect a rookie quarterback in the NFL to be great consistently throughout the season. Caleb has shown it. To build off Max's O-line point, the Bears have allowed the second most sacks in the NFL this year. They are not protecting him. His receivers, although they are big names, have also not done
And
as much
Keenan
as
Allen has
expected
been
them to.
underwhelming, to say the least. Roma Dunze has not been the player we
Not
thought he was going
performed.
to be.
And on top of that, I think you mentioned Eberflus.
Yeah.
I think this is systemic with the Bears from the top down. Their owner's 101 years old.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
And
We
that's
need
not
to
an
get-
exaggeration.
No,
Like,
she's actually
She is 101 years old.
101 years old.
Crazy.
Eberflus
Crazy.
would probably not be a head coach anywhere else in this league if he was fired today. I think they need a full makeover, keeping Caleb, who is going to be a star, and I fully believe that moving forward.
I agree. I think that it's a systemic issue. I mean, I think a very fair comparison is the New York Jets, where systemically, until ownership finally takes accountability, stops meddling their hands, stops trying to cook themselves, and hires the people that actually know how to get the job done, it will continue to not work.
I agree. I also think it's important to mention that the Bears have this tendency to disguise their coaches. Like,
Yes.
we cannot think that Matt Nagy was a good coach. He was disguised as a good coach because they reached the playoffs and, had glimmers of greatness.
Right.
But, Matt Eberflus, it's the same situation. The Bears, have won a bunch of enough games this year, I think. And he's going to be disguised as a good coach.
I get it. Listen, I could talk about this for hours with you guys. But switching gears once again, we're going to swing the rock to the NBA, where we've got some big hitters having underachieving seasons. Our correspondents, though, think that instead of being early favorites, they're actually late bloomers. With me is Nandan Nair, Briggs Loveland, and once again, Everest Leach. Nandan, who is your team?
Yeah, I'm going right, Noah. My team is the New York Knicks. And, they've had an interesting start so far. They started 7-6. They are 4th in the East. But I think they're going to be fine. Now, the big storyline for the Knicks in this offseason was obviously that they brought Big Purr to the Big Apple. Yep, I'm talking about Karl Anthony Towns. Now,
What'd you call him?
I call him Big Purr. You don't know? What do you know about Big Purr?
That's awesome. I've heard of Bodega Cat. I haven't heard of that one.
But anyway, my point being, he's been looking interesting so far. So obviously, offensively, looks great. 26 points per game, 12.4 rebounds per game, looking really solid. You know, he's had a great partnership with Jalen Brunson, a great 1-2 mix, and I think overall he's looking pretty solid. However, we do have to acknowledge the fact that he's been kind of, well, to say the least, iffy defensively. And it shows with the next team. You know, for starters, if you look at them, at least offensive rating-wise, their offensive rating averaging is 119.7, which
Offensively,
is third.
this starting five is one of the best.
Doing what it should
It's
do.
third in the league. However, defensively, their defensive rating is 115.5, which is 21st in the league. And it shows. However, the thing, specifically with Karl Anthony Towns, we can't be surprised by this. We've known he's been like this ever since
He's a
been
big
in
man.
Minnesota.
He's a shooting big man.
He's a shooting big man that can't guard. And at Minnesota, they had the players surrounding him that could help.
Gobert.
4-time defensive player of the year.
Nah, bro. Alexander Walker,
Yup.
elite defensive.
They had the players to mask his fragilities. Right now, yes, Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are very versatile defenders, but they're already trying to, you know, kind of conceal a bit of Brunson's fragilities, which is showing. So overall, I think it's going to take time. Obviously, it's his first season. You know, Tom
And where do you
Thibodeau's
throw
gonna
in
have to do some
Mikal
work.
Bridges in this too? Because they got him for a ton of picks,
Yeah.
a ton of picks, and they haven't really utilized him as much as I think they should. For
Exactly.
the amount of
Part of
picks
that he
they gave
can't
up.
figure the jump shot out, but you got to trust that'll come.
And
He
also
scored
don't
20
forget,
points per
and
game.
don't forget Josh Hart, who can easily average double-double on his day. Exactly. You know, we have Precious Achiuwa, who's still having a hamstring injury, but once he comes back, he's a really solid backup. So overall, I think it's a really solid team. I think they're still trying to find their footing, especially in their defensive scheme. I think it's going to take some time.
I'm going to speak of a team that also is dealing with injuries. That's the Milwaukee Bucks. I think we can all agree this is a trend that the East, the spots 3 through 8 right now, still up for grabs. Because right now it's Cleveland and Boston. They look like those are the two dominant teams.
those are
in
the two
East.
top teams.
It's still Boston's Eastern Conference. But the Bucks right now, they're managing some injuries of themselves. Right now, Damian Lillard's out with concussion protocol, and Chris Middleton is out. Both of those two players are their stars.
Yeah.
Right now, Dame and Giannis just don't have any help. They're both playing really well. Giannis dropped 59 points. I mean, if we're being honest, Giannis dropped 59 points, and the Bucks are 4-9. They lost by 1 to the Charlotte Hornets. I mean, you
What more
got to
can you
give
do?
them help. They need help. Your next best player is what? Torian Prince? What?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Torian Prince. I'm blaming this on Darvin Ham a little bit. I want to blame it on Darvin Ham.
Well, there's a lot
but
to
I'm
blame
not
on
going to
Darvin
do
Ham.
that. I'm not going to do that because that's a little egregious. But, I mean, they need help. They have to find some way to have a better starting rotation, find their way through having a better bench rotation, or they need to find a way to get trades.
Yeah.
They need to start trading players that are going to help Giannis and Dame out. So it's helping their star players. It is the injury bug. But one thing that helps the Milwaukee Bucks is their experience. They have a lot of experience. They have a lot of NBA Finals experience that's led by their star player, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think that's the big key, is that their experience is really going to help them in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, I want to take us to the city of brotherly love, which is anything but right now. The Philadelphia 76ers are 2-10. They are bad right now, but I believe there is still hope. Now,
That's your hope right there.
That is our
That
hope.
is your singular hope.
Jared McCain, think what you want about him, the TikToks, everything else. How about the 28 points per game he's averaged in his last 4? 5 assists. He is a star, moving without the ball like Steph Curry. Little sprinkles of that in there. He's been great. They need him to continue to do that. They need to get healthy. Tyrese Maxey has been out, although he's still shown the flashes that we know Tyrese Maxey can possess. He scored 45 against Indiana before he got hurt. This Sixers team, obviously the elephant in the room is Embiid. How much is he going to play? When's he going to play? If he'll play. But Embiid did get in the game, and in the first half versus the Magic recently, he was 5 for 8 with 16 points. He just fell off in the second half, which shows he doesn't have his legs under him yet. Embiid needs to get healthy.
Physically and literally.
Physically and literally. He needs to get healthy. He needs to get his cardio up. And this Sixers team has to get reps together.
For all
If they
three
do that,
teams, it's a common theme that it's injuries and it's getting healthy.
if the Sixers can get healthy, find continuity, play together, they have the talent to make a run in this Eastern Conference, which you talked about, Briggs, is not that deep aside from Boston and maybe Cleveland.
And that's what I was going to mention, Everest, is that honestly, any of these three teams could be a shoo-in for Eastern Conference Finals. I think we've talked about how the Celtics and the Cavs are that pretty much consensus top two. Beyond that, it's all up for grabs.
I'm interested to see what Noah thinks about his Brooklyn Nets, though.
Ooh.
I'm really interested to find out what he thinks.
I don't think there's
about
much to
those
think
Brooklyn
about.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. But we'll see. No, I wonder what Noah thinks.
Yeah, I do want to know.
I feel great about my Brooklyn Nets because they're better than the 2-10 Sixers, and that's all I've got to say about that. I'm going to respectfully disagree with some of those takes, but regardless, we have to head to a commercial break. But stay right there. When we come back, we'll be talking about Real Madrid's struggles, the meteoric rise of Nikola Jokic, and welcoming the third installment of Evan's Film Room. Stick with us.
And when I arrive at my destination, I am gonna kill Bill.
What? Oh! Okay, cutting. Sorry, can we get some of this?
Where in God's name is the gaffer's tape?
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Casey, and we're the National Broadcasting Society.
Come out to some of our weekly workshops, or work on some of our sets.
Explore the bigger picture with NBS.
We'll see you there.
All right, let's get another take. Camera, sound.
Hi, I'm Mary Malloy, the host of Speechless, and you're watching the Emerson channel.
Welcome back to the box score. Now, the NFL has continued to change and evolve over time, but it feels like this year we're seeing the most bad teams in what feels like forever. So I think it's time we have a State of the Union. Joining me to talk about why the league is where it is Max Lasky, Everest Leach, and Evan Sharrard. Now, Max, I'm going to head to you first. Break down where you think the league is right now.
Yeah, I think the league is in a position where we're in the era of super teams. Now, I know that not everyone's going to agree with this, and that's totally fine. My whole point is to hopefully make you see the
enlighten
lighter
us.
side. And,
this is
and
your State of the
you.
Union.
So look, super teams have superstars, not just at the quarterback position. When I think of a super team, I think of these teams. I think of the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the Detroit Lions, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Buffalo Bills. All 5 teams are in the top 8 for most points scored per game this season. All 5 teams are in the top 8 for the fewest points scored. Fewest points allowed. Aside from the Ravens, they are having some trouble. But my point is that super teams are built for consistency. They're built for the playoffs. They're built to make runs for a Super Bowl.
Right, and I mean, realistically, we are in an era where we could see the Chiefs three-peat.
Of course, and I think that you could see any of these teams realistically. Again, the Ravens got a little bit they got to get together, especially on defense. But I could see any of these teams making the Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl, and I think that that's the state we are in. We are in the era of the super teams, and these 5 teams are not going anywhere for the next 10 years.
Modeling themselves kind of like what happened a decade ago in the NBA, where we were doing like the big threes, where like what we tried to emulate the Golden State Warriors, for example. Now it's teams trying to emulate the Kansas City Chiefs.
Absolutely, and you know what? Like all these teams are going to have rocky roads. They're all going to have rocky games. I mean, we did just see the Steelers beat the Ravens handedly, and
on 6 field goals.
Right.
I know. Chris Boswell actually faced me in fantasy this week. It was tough. But Everest.
Yeah.
You have another opinion.
I do, and thank you, Noah. I want to talk a little bit about the shortened leashes on NFL coaches and GMs in the league right now.
So that you think that the reason that teams are more like there are more bad teams is that the bad teams are trying to get good too quickly?
I do in a little bit of a way, because I think with how rich this league has gotten, in particular how rich owners have gotten, they are super comfortable with just letting go of a coach before we really see what they're worth. Owners want to win instantly, and if you don't, they're going to fire you and get somebody else who can, but that's not realistic. If your name isn't Jim Harbaugh or Andy Reid, things take time. Look at the Detroit Lions. Their first year under Dan Campbell, 3-13-1. Awful. Their next year, 9-8. then 12-5, NFC Championship. Now they're perennial Super Bowl contenders.
Right.
But it takes time, and if coaches are too concerned with losing their job, they're going to make decisions like playing only veterans or trading young prospects to try and win now, but that doesn't promote sustained success, and I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of the bad teams.
And listen, I'll interject with my Jets like I normally do, but I mean that's kind of what you're seeing out of New York this season. Is Joe Douglas knows that he's gone after this year, so he's making the trades. He's trading for Devontae Adams. He got rid of the the second round pick for Hassan Reddick. It's just throwing everything at the wall and hoping it'll stick.
And a lot of times it doesn't.
Right, exactly. Now, Evan, I'm going to swing it to you, and there's a reason you're on the other side of this table.
That's right.
Because you disagree with pretty much everything that they're saying.
Well, you know, the thing is, I don't disagree with any aspect of where they're coming from. I think the thing that I mainly disagree with is the era of the super team.
Okay.
Because teams have been doing this for decades. Especially, I mean, in the 2010s when we were all growing up watching these teams play football.
Right.
I mean, the New England Patriots won 6 Super Bowls from 2000 to 2020s. It's unbelievable to see that. Okay, they're an outlier. All right, well then how about the Indianapolis Colts, who from 1999 till 2010 had Peyton Manning at quarterback. In 99, 13-3, 10-6, 6-10, 10-6, 12-4, 12-4, 14-2, 12-4, 13-3, 12-4, 14-2, 10-6, 2-14, the year that Peyton Manning leaves.
Ooh.
They win 10-plus games into the playoffs, aiming for a Super Bowl every single year for almost 20 years.
I mean,
Sorry,
you can
almost
go back
11,
even farther too. I mean, like
and
to the Pittsburgh Steelers,
the Green Bay Packers this past decade. I mean, the Packers have an even, just as good of a history with Favre, Rodgers, and now Jordan Love. They're consistently aiming for the playoffs and only having about spans of 2 years where they miss the playoffs.
Seattle Seahawks, as we can see on our screen right now, like
not
Legion of Boom. It was a shorter dynasty, if you want to call it that. But
yes,
still.
but all of these teams, teams have been doing this where they've dominated decades for years. It's happened forever.
It just feels like it's worse this year, though. Like it feels like
and I think actually because there are more bad teams, it feels like that. But this has always happened. I think the Patriots were always a shoo-in for the AFC Championship game for like 20 years. Does that mean that they were a super team? Yeah, they really were.
Well, and I think there's an argument to be made that maybe because there's more quote-unquote bad teams, that there's actually more competitive teams.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is like, that's fine. You can mention the Colts, you can mention the Packers, and you can even mention the Seahawks for that matter, but it definitely falls off after that. I mean,
Denver
I think
Broncos had
Broncos are very good.
5 consecutive years of going to the playoffs.
But we're still living
best
in a
offensive
time
season
period.
of all time.
We're still living in a time period where I think there are just more competitive teams around.
I don't think it has anything to do with the time period. I think it's more of this is with the entire league in focus, where players and coaches are and how teams are built right now. There's so much adjustment, and there always is, to build a team how the latest winner just did. And when they fail, they have to tear it all down. And so many teams are failing quickly, and the teams that are doing it really well are doing it really well.
There's a hint of recency bias that I think has entered the NFL potentially to try and emulate whoever has just done it best, which is why I think the Detroit Lions do it so well, is that they are different from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Doing it their own way.
They do it their own way. They do it the Dan Campbell way. It's rough and tough football in a fancy way. But regardless, I love listening to you guys talk. I could do it again for hours. But we've got a lot of show left. From one football to another, the usually mighty Real Madrid have had a lackluster start to the year, and the finger pointing has all but started. My resident soccer fans, Nandan Nair and Kyler Maira, are with me to see where everything has gone wrong. Nandan, I'm going to start with you. What's going on?
Well, no, it's very easy to point to a lot of different things. I mean, they have 22 injuries this entire season. They have a couple players out with ACL tears. Eder Militao has torn his ACL twice in 2 years, doing his best me impression. So there's a lot of names to point and a lot of injuries. But I'm just going to start off with the elephant in the room. Kylian Mbappe has not been the player that they've wanted.
Okay.
When they brought him in, and because I'm going to lay out exactly why I say that. Mbappe has been brought in to be the superstar number 9. We know last year they have some of the best wingers in the world, but they had Joselu at striker. Now, if you're asking who that is, I'm asking the same question. So point proven. So they brought Kylian Mbappe in as the superstar, striker. He's been touted as one of the best players in the world. I mean, hell, he almost won 2 back-to-back World Cups single-handedly, if that says anything. But he hasn't been the player they wanted. Now, he's been brought in as that number 9, but for some God knows what reason, he's been veering over on into the wing so often every single game. He's been really interfering with the play of Vinicius and Rodrigo, and it's really hurting Madrid's overall play. One player I particularly think of is Jude Bellingham. You know, last year we think of Jude Bellingham at this time in the year, he had 10 goals and 2 assists in 11 games. This season, after 11 games, 1 goal, 2 assists. Mainly because he's been forced backwards into more of a center, into more of an 8 role because of Mbappe's presence. Even Vinicius and Rodrigo, they've stumbled. And even, we talk about Endrick and Arda Güler on the bench. They were brought in really young superstars that aren't getting any playing time. So overall, he's really holding this team back, and I just don't see a reason how it gets better. I think...
So you're saying Mbappe, the addition of Mbappe has been the biggest detriment to this new team.
I agree.
Do you happen to agree with that?
I don't agree with that. Look, I think Real Madrid are fine. Let's not overreact.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
I knew that you would try and stir the pot. That's
Exactly. This just reminds me so much of Manchester City and Arsenal in 2022, 2023. Look, at this point, 11 games in, Arsenal's up 4 points. Real Madrid, they're down 6 with a game in hand. They'll likely win. Who knows? But it's around 3-4 points behind. City won the league the year before, but now are looking lethargic. That's the exact same situation that Real Madrid are in this year.
Here's the thing.
It's not mutiny Madrid. It's midnight in Madrid, and they're sleepy. That's what's happening.
Here's the thing, though. Are we really going to compare that Arsenal team with Hansi Flick's Barcelona?
Yes, we are.
I don't think. I
Because
think
Barcelona have not been good in recent years. Now they have this electric start, this new chemistry with players that have been recent signings, and they're starting to finally gel, just like Arsenal was. And look, Manchester City at that point had just signed this huge, big-name striker. Erling Haaland, do you know him? He started off the year actually performing well, but he was taking away from De Bruyne, and he was taking away from City.
Yeah, you could actually pull it back up on the old episodes from last season where you said that Erling Haaland was the reason that City was going to lose
I was going to mention that. I was going to mention that.
City, by the way, ended up winning the league.
If City didn't win, but that's correct. City did win the league, and they won the Champions League.
Fair.
They came back.
That's fair.
They were fine. Let's not overreact. Madrid are going to be fine. Give them, we're, what, a third of the way through the year?
Yeah,
You don't start thinking about your Christmas presents in April, do you? There's so much time for the season to change. 3 points, 3 losses in all competitions.
Yeah.
We can't be jumping to
So let me pose this question to you then. Let's take out the Mbappe factor. Let's say, yes, he's, I agree with you. Yes, it's still early on. Let's say he recovers and he is well. What about the injuries, though? Because a lot of these are long-term injuries we're talking David Alaba out for the whole year.
Yeah.
Tchouameni, he's going to be out until at least December, January. We talk about Carvajal, out the whole year. Militao, out the whole year. That's a lot of defense. Do you think that's going to hinder them?
I think that's why there's time, and that's where there's time for them to figure that out and be all right.
All right, listen. I love it. I love my soccer time on the box score. It makes me real happy. But it was fun. Thank you very much. I'm going to swing it to the triple monitor right now, where Everest Leach, Briggs Loveland, and Evan Sharrard are having what can only be described as a timely debate. And if Nikola Jokic wins his 4th MVP this season, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Is he a top 10 player of all time? Now 10 is more than 4. But Everest, we're going to kick it off with you. Get us started. Is Nikola Jokic a top 10 player if he wins a 4th MVP?
Thank you, Noah. I'm going to start us off by saying it will not make him a top 10 player, and I want to take this time to do 2 things. First off, state that Nikola Jokic is an amazing player. He has such a unique skill set, the size, touch, and basketball IQ. It's just unbelievable. The second thing I want to do is read a list of names. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Larry Bird, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, I'm at 10, Steph Curry, Hakeem Olajuwon. That's 12 names. As great as Jokic is, those are 12 players who all have multiple championships and dominated for a decade plus. Jokic is great, but he just can't get into that conversation. There are too many great players in NBA history, and he has to win more rings and do it for a longer time.
Well, that's honestly a great start, Everest, and you've caught me flustered a little bit. But I disagree. If he wins a 4th MVP, he's going to be a top 10 player of all time. Evan, Everest, only 5 players have won the MVP award 4 or more times. And those 5 players you have on your cue card. They're right there.
Yeah.
If Jokic wins a 4th MVP, which he's the front runner to do so, he will be one of 6 players to be the MVP 4 or more times. Those guys are in the top 10 list. His name should be in that top 10 list right now. If he wins this 4th MVP. 29 points a game, 13 rebounds, 11 assists. Those 2 are career highs. We've never seen play like this from a big man. He is one of the most amazing passers in the league as a center. Not Shaq, not Hakeem, not Wilt, not Tim Duncan. It is Nikola Jokic. He is the best facilitator on the floor, and he's the most valuable on the floor to his team. Right now, they're 18 and 20. They meaning the Nuggets. The Nuggets are 18 and 29 without Nikola Jokic on the floor. He is the most valuable player to their team. And quite frankly, guys, if he wins that 4th MVP, he's going to be top 10 all time. He's going to go down as one of the best passing big men that we've ever seen. And we talk a lot about dominance, and we talk a lot about Wilt was dominant in his era. Jordan was dominant in his era. Nikola Jokic, this is the Nikola Jokic era. He's been dominating for 5 years. And you want to go based off peak, how players have performed in their peak prime. This is Nikola Jokic's peak. It's his era. And this is going to come for many, many years to come. I don't see time slowing down for Nikola Jokic.
I can't help but agree with everything you said, except for the fact that he will be top 10 after this year. Because with all respect, you're right. I think he does finish as a top 10 player ever. But I think those extra 10 years that he needs to play still to get the rest of the stats up there. So all those other guys that are on that list are also all retired and played a longer career. That's all I really have to add to that.
And the thing is that Nikola Jokic, he does, plain and simple, he has to win another ring to really be in the upper echelon. Like, that is a fair argument. He does have to, and he may have to win another finals MVP. And I believe he can do that because he is the best player in the NBA right now. You look at the past championship winners, the Nuggets had Nikola Jokic. The Celtics had Tatum, who was arguably a top 5, top 3 NBA player that year. For the Bucks, when they won, Giannis was the best player on the floor. For the Lakers, LeBron, arguably, he was the runner-up MVP that year, arguably top 3. Arguably top 3 in the NBA in that time. Right now, it's Nikola Jokic. He's the best player on the floor in the NBA right now. And like I said before, it feels like the game flows through him. It feels like time stops, and the opposing players have this magic spell on where it's like, oh, I'm going in the pace of Nikola Jokic right now.
That's right.
I don't know what happens, but it's unbelievable to watch. And I think to your point, Everest, yes, he does have to win another championship. But if he wins that 4th MVP, guys, it's going to be difficult to not say that Nikola Jokic is not a top 10 all-time player.
Whew. All right. Food for thought. I appreciate it. And now, before we head to commercial, we are going to throw it back to Evan, who will be breaking down his favorite play of the week in Evan's film room. The ever so insightful Evan Sharrard, what do you got for us this week?
Thank you, Noah. Welcome back. Evan Sharrard here for the film room. Today we're going to be breaking down a play. This is going to be coming when it was 19-10 Thursday Night Football, Philadelphia Eagles on top. And this play happens on 2nd down and 3. So let's get right to the play. Before we play it, I just want to note, all right, so you can't really see right here, but Jalen Hurts is under center. 20 seconds ago on the game clock, the Eagles just scored a rushing touchdown with Barkley over 20 yards. Barkley's lined up right here in the backfield. The biggest thing I'm looking for right now, we're late in the game. The box is loaded here. They're going to come down to the line, 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. Linebackers are going to end up here, and then 2 guys in the box. Let's watch as it plays out. Usually, I like at least 5 in the box for an even front. But right here, they're going to bring in 2 extra. And watch 95 right here, Derjon Newton. He's going to fall right over. And then into the second level goes Cam Jurgens, and that's why that's wide open. It's a 30-plus yard rushing touchdown. It ices the game, and it's the key to why the Eagles ended up winning this game so easily. And to our producer, one of my producers for Emerson Channel Sports and our technical director back there, the box score, Avi Scheinberg, big Commanders fan, I'm sorry. But we have to highlight this because once you got the look right there again, this key play where Cam Jurgens, he's going to get to the second level immediately, pancakes the linebacker, and that's where he should be to make that tackle. It's a 10-yard gain instead. It's a 30-plus yard touchdown. Easy sledding there for Saquon Barkley. And frankly, That was the difference maker in that game. Thank you all for joining me in this brief film room. Evan Sharrard, Noah Berkowitz will be back right after the commercial. So stay tuned on the Box Score. Thank you for watching the film room.
When I arrive at my destination, I am gonna kill Bill.
What? Oh, okay, cutting. Sorry, can we get some of this?
Where in God's name is the gaffer's tape? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nate.
And I'm Casey, and we're the National Broadcasting Society.
Come out to some of our weekly workshops or work on some of our sets.
Explore the bigger picture with NBS.
We'll see you there.
All right, let's get another take. Camera, sound.
So yeah, it's like Emerson's very own late night talk show. We've got games like Jimmy Fallon, and we're hot like Jimmy Kimmel, and we've got guests. I'm gonna talk to them. You can talk too, I guess. There's a live studio audience, and they're just gonna laugh at everything we say, and it's gonna be awesome. It's just this never-ending cycle of positivity and community and late night content. I'm gonna wear a suit. You should probably wear one too. What do you think?
I think you should drink up, because it's closing time.
Welcome back to the Box Score. I'm Everest Leach, and it is time to talk Heisman Trophy in college football. Who's going to win it, who deserves to win it, and who's in the running. I'm going to break it down for you with my top 5. Starting at number 5 in my Heisman rankings, it's going to be the Alabama quarterback, Jalen Milroe. Now, I know a lot of people don't like Alabama. They love to hate on them, and they lost 2 games. They didn't play very well early in the season, but Milroe's been playing great recently. 185 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns against LSU. That's a Heisman moment. He's number 5. Number 4, it's going to be another quarterback, Dylan Gabriel of Oregon. Simply put, the Ducks are the best team in the country, and he is their leader. He has 28 total touchdowns, only 8 turnovers. He's playing great. He's leading that team that is undisputably number 1 in the country. He was great when it mattered against Ohio State, and that team has full confidence in him. He's number 4. At 3, finishing off the quarterbacks, it's Cam Ward from Miami. This guy's been unbelievable. 3 second-half comebacks. Number 3, I believe, in total touchdowns in college football. Just amazing. Look at the stats. They're awesome. 3rd in QBR in the country. Cam Ward deserves to be number 3. But now I want to get into the top 2. These are my favorites. Ashton Jeanty, the running back from Boise State. He's number 2. He's been putting up unbelievable numbers all season. Look at him. I don't need to tell you the story. You can read the numbers. My biggest credit that I can give Ashton Jeanty is I think Barry Sanders is the greatest running back in NFL history. Ashton Jeanty's been getting Barry Sanders comps, and I think they are 100% justified and warranted. He's been excellent, but he's not the Heisman. That's going to be Travis Hunter of Colorado, and I get that people are going to be upset, but he's just too important. He's playing both sides of the ball at a high level. Wide receiver, defensive back. He's played the most snaps of anybody in college football by far, and people are like, why are you considering snaps a Heisman stat? Well, because nobody's ever done this in the history of college football. Travis Hunter is unbelievable. 900 yards and 9 touchdowns on one side, locking up a side of the field on defense. He deserves to be the Heisman just off of sheer value. That's going to be it for me. Sending it back to you, Noah.
Thank you, Everest. I can already feel the controversy brewing in my head, but what if we just appreciate the greatness of both of them? But on the flip side of greatness, we now have to talk about the absolute disaster that was the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. Now, with me to talk about everything that went wrong is Evan Sharrard and Max Lasky. Evan, I don't really know where to start with this.
Yeah, I know Max is going to talk about this too. We were trying to meet up to watch it, and thank goodness we didn't. Because Max, the thing that we couldn't come together on was, I don't think either of us are going to have time. I'll watch the highlights when I can. I'll watch it after the fact. Well, I tried to, but
Right.
the fight hadn't happened yet. Because the fight was scheduled for some time around 8, and it did not get started for multiple hours. And it wasn't because of some pre-show and some, wow, I'm losing my words.
Like
here.
extended.
Yes,
undercard.
there was no pageantry involved in this. They just simply had so many server issues. Now we got the fight on the screen now, so it went 8 rounds, which I guess is exciting. But I think when we talk about the actual fight side of this, because I know, Max, you're going to get into the broadcast.
Yeah.
Is this fair? Like, I know it's Mike Tyson, one of the greatest fighters of all time, but he retired in 2005. I was 2 years old. I'm 21 now. So there's that.
31 years older than Jake Paul.
Yes, Jake Paul's 27, and plus 31, you get 58, which is Mike Tyson's age. I just don't really understand this besides, why are these two fighting? Besides the fact that both of them are going to make a lot of money.
I'll tell you why they're fighting. To put it into some wrestling terms and educate our viewers at home. In wrestling, usually, because it's predetermined, you have someone who is going to, it's the clear winner. Everyone knows they're going to win. It makes sense for them to win. And then you have the clear loser, and the loser really doesn't care that they're losing because maybe it's like a John Cena who's past his time, as much as I love him and grew up on him.
And he's there for the show.
He's there for the show.
Yes.
So by Jake Paul winning this fight, it actually does a whole lot for him, and I think that it was the easiest bet of all time if anyone wanted to actually bet that fight and put their own money on that. Aside from all that, there's no reason that Jake Paul should be fighting someone like Mike Tyson. There's no reason why Mike Tyson needs to be fighting at all at the age of 58. I think Jake Paul has a future ahead of him if he wants one in boxing. I do. He's an attraction. That's where the sport is heading. He brings in a lot of money. And I think that a guy like Jake Paul, really, that's all he's in it for. He wants the money. Talking about the stream itself, absolute disaster. If I could think of every word in the book.
Glitchy, buffering.
But if I'm Netflix, I have a big issue on my hands, and it's the fact that they are a few weeks away from 2 live NFL games.
Yeah, on Christmas Day.
And they are just about a month and a half away from being the permanent home of Monday Night Raw, WWE's longest weekly episodic television show, which is a huge problem if they can't get a stream like that to work.
Right, and which is surprising too, given that I fear that boxing is one of those sports that everyone tries to illegally pirate. You know? Like because of how the pay-per-view works, no one wants to pay for Netflix. No one wants
I don't.
No one wants to pay the $50 to watch whoever fight whoever. When realistically, you could search it up on one of those fun websites that we college students like to search things up on and watch it for free.
All the time.
Still because of that, they said it was 60 million households watched Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. That's not, I fear, stream-breaking numbers.
It's crazy. In all honesty, I think the bigger fight this weekend was John Jones wiping the floor with Stipe Miocic.
I agree.
Retiring him as well. But obviously, that's a different area of combat sports. But yeah, I think Netflix has some. They have to go back in sports terms to the drawing board. They got to figure out what went wrong. They got to figure out how to get everything in order for 2 really, really big live sporting events with the WWE and the NFL.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome, guys. Thank you. Now, to our final segment of the night. There are plenty of teams in the NFL at the 500 and below mark. But with how wide open the playoff picture is right now, everyone is still in play. Max Lasky and Maira join me now for this game. Now, here are the rules. If you have ever seen Around the Horn, this is for you. I'm going to give them a team at or below 500. They will then, one at a time, convince me why they could or could not still make the playoffs, and whoever's argument I like more will get the point. Now, the one with the most points at the end will win. Get it? Good. We're going to start round 1 with Max. The Carolina Panthers.
Oh, boy. So many issues. But we're going to talk about the positives, and it's the fact that a guy like Bryce Young is a good quarterback on a bad team. They got some offensive weapons. I'll give them that. Chuba Hubbard, excellent year and got paid for it. And I think they have just a little bit of momentum coming out of that bye. I think the NFC South is kind of wide open. I think there's another team that's going to make a stronger case for the NFC South championship, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Look, I think the Panthers are young. I think they're hungry. And I think that They have a great leader in Bryce Young, and it just needs to be recognized to get them over that hump.
Okay. Kyler?
Yeah, let's not be boring here. We know that the Panthers are going to struggle to make the playoffs, but here's how they could, right? We're going to look at the start of the season and see what has changed. Is it positive or is it negative? They got rid of Deontay Johnson, and it's freed up the wide receiver room. You see players like Coker, Leggett, and Sanders all making much more of an impact this year around. And you look at people like Bryce Young who are finally hitting their stride. But what I'm more impressed with is Chuba Hubbard. And he's chewing up yards, and more importantly, he's chewing up the clock when he runs. That defense had been a real big issue, and in the last 2 games, they've held the opposing teams to under 25 points. And if they're going to make the playoffs, they're going to have to lean on the run, tick that time away, and keep their defense off the field as much as possible to give themselves the best possible chance.
That's crazy from both of you guys. I can't believe you would ever argue something like that, especially in the NFC. That makes absolutely no sense. I'm going to give the point to Kyler here. So Kyler will be up 1-0. So you're going to be first this time, Kyler. Your team is the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Cincinnati Bengals. It's like watching Groundhog Day every single year. They start off the year 0-2. Oh no, the Bengals, they're in trouble. And look, they are this year at 4-7, but they're going to be fine. What do we learn? Joe Burrow is a great quarterback, and when he plays the whole season, the Bengals are fine. He has been fantastic the year round, but even more so when T. Higgins has returned to the lineup, as he has just last week and for the rest of the season, barring any injury. He opens up Jamar Chase to another level. Defenses can no longer stack him and they're forced to go to Mike Gesicki. They can go to either of them, and they're just lighting up defenses. Yeah, they're having trouble on their own on defense. If I were them, I would never play Cam Taylor ever again, because it seems like every touchdown's against him. But Joe Burrow is just so excellent and has been so excellent for so long that you got to trust the Bengals.
Okay, Max?
I'd have to agree with the fact that you got to trust the Bengals, but I want to highlight some other parts of this awesome offense. Look, they're behind in games. That's their defense's fault. I think that a guy like Chase Brown has come into this team and really filled the void that Joe Mixon left. When you look at a guy like Joey B, I mean, you expect greatness. They're still putting up a lot of points. He can find Jamar Chase, and to Kyler's point, when he can't, because he's not looking for him, because let's face it, the guy's always open. He has all these other really great weapons. I think Joe Burrow and the Bengals kind of just have to take a bit of a deep breath. They have to realize what they have in front of them, and that's a tough schedule. I think that if they really want a shot at making the playoffs, they're just going to have to grind out some of these really tough games. They're going to go ahead and play the Steelers twice, and I think they could actually win one of those games and maybe propel them into the playoffs.
Yeah, Max, I'm a fan of that argument. I mean, listen, the road to the playoffs is tough, but in a very weak AFC, I think they can get it. And I mean, if they can steal a game from the Steelers, I mean, Steelers don't score a lot of points, and the Bengals do. And if you can score a lot of points, you will win a lot of football games. So I'm going to give you the point. You're tied at 1-1. Max, give me the argument for the Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins. You know, these are some tough teams. You know, Kyler and I wanted to talk about these teams, but this is tough. The Miami Dolphins have a long road ahead of them. Thankfully, my argument here is that they're actually getting a whole lot of help from Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. I'm sorry, Noah, but they are. That might have already forfeited
2 free games.
Point. Yeah, they might have forfeited me my point there. But I got to be honest, the Dolphins, they know how to play football offensively. And let's not forget they got a great defense. However, they need to score more points. I know Tua was out for a few weeks, but I think if this team could really just get back into a groove here, really use some great options that they usually run with Raheem Mostert. Obviously, A-Chain is a great back for the Dolphins, but I think that, you know, just getting their receivers out in space, opening the ball and up to other playmakers as they have with like Jonnu Smith as of late, I think if they just keep doing that, they can sneak into the playoffs.
Yeah, right. I disagree. I don't think that they have to score more points. They had to score more points than they were when they were playing Tyler Huntley at quarterback. But with Tua, their offense has been fine. Tyreek Hill's been struggling with injury. He's only going to get better. He's had the AC joint injury. And in the last week, they got 34. They beat the Rams, didn't even give up a touchdown against the Rams. I think that their defense is so good that their offense just has to do what they have been doing, and they'll continue to win and win and win games. The Broncos right now are in the playoff picture for the AFC. they might not stay there. I'm not so confident in Bo Nix and the Broncos. I think that the AFC is wide open, and I think that the Dolphins are a team that can get on a run, make use of that easy schedule, and make a playoff push.
Wow. All right. This is a close one. I'm a little torn. Max obviously dissed my New York Jets, and you know what? I'm the host, and you can't talk bad about my Jets when I want them. So, Kyler, you get the point. Let's start with you on this one too. The LA Rams.
The LA Rams are in trouble. All right, they're not going to make the playoffs, believe it or not. Right as they get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back, they're in big fat trouble because they have to play the Eagles, Bills, 49ers, and Chargers. That schedule is tougher than a Charleston chew. They are going to be losing game after game, and it's nothing they can do. They did so much damage to a team. They lost 5 games already because their starters were out, that now that they're hitting this stride, I don't think they win more than one of those games. And with 8 losses, it's going to be tough to make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm a little speechless. Tougher than a Charleston chew. I mean, listen, Kyler, you never cease to amaze me. But Max, give me your argument.
Kyler, thank you so much for setting me up with the easiest argument of all time. So let's just get started with the fact that the Rams are a great team when they're healthy, and boom, they're healthy yet again. Matt Stafford finally looks like the quarterback that they traded for, that they won a Super Bowl with. Puka Nacua back and had a huge game last night.
Yeah, but it's against the Patriots.
Oh,
Their
come on. Patriots.
He didn't look good against Miami,
Let's get to some more facts. Kyren Williams is a top 5 back statistically in the NFL this season, whether you like it or not. Cooper Kupp looks like Cooper Kupp, and this offense is cooking. I think that Puka and Cooper Kupp are the best wide receiver tandem in the NFL, and the NFC West is a tight division. Don't get me wrong, but I think that the Los Angeles Rams have a fairly decent schedule the rest of the way, and I could easily see them getting into the playoffs and causing some real disruption in the NFC.
Yeah, I completely agree, Max. I'm going to give you the point on this one, meaning that it's 2-2, and it all comes down to this final one. So, Max, you're going to start it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for setting me up with another easy argument, because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, again, in the NFC South, a division that is wide open right now, and I think that they are a far better team than the first place team in the NFC South. That's the Atlanta Falcons. So, let me tell you why. Baker Mayfield is a fantastic quarterback. He's cooking without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. That is huge. He's doing it with guys like Cade Otton, who has literally turned into the new Rob Gronkowski of this team. Cade Otton is unbelievable. The offense looks great. Baker Mayfield, top 3 in TD passes, top 8 in passing yards, and top 3 in completion percentage. He's been doing it and getting it done.
Listen, you did just compare Rob Gronkowski to Cade Otton. And I
did.
just don't know how I can let you get away with that. But Kyler, maybe take your layup?
Yeah, they are going to make the playoffs, but not because they're going to be the best team in their division. They're just going to make it because their schedule is so easy from now on. They're getting Mike Evans back. That's a huge bolster of the offense. They can make use of Cade Awesome, as I call him, but they have to play the Panthers twice, the Saints, the Raiders, the Cowboys, and the Giants. I think a Pee Wee football team could make the playoffs with this schedule.
Great.
I'm not surprised if the Falcons and the Bucs make it in. Their offense, Baker Mayfield, throwing lasers, call him Laser Mayfield. They are so useful with both Bucky Irving and Rachaad White in the backfield. It's Rachaad White pounds it, not what he's used to, and then Bucky Irving zips through, scores a lot of points, catches a lot of passes. The Buccaneers have it easy for the rest of the way, and they're going to capitalize because they have the talent to do so.
Listen, I feel like I gave you the layup there. This is a tough one. There's just no way the Bucs make it in to the playoffs if they don't win the South. So you know what? I'm going to hand it to Max. Max will be our inaugural, if you want to call it, inaugural champion of whatever this game seems to be called, the Max Lasky, Kyler Maira Showdown Special Extravaganza Mojo Dojo Casa House. But regardless, that is our show. Thank you for tuning in. We have our season finale very soon, so make sure to watch that and all of our previous episodes on the EIV YouTube channel. We cannot do it without our amazing control room and in-studio team. I've been your host, Noah Berkowitz. Good night.